I wonder if it's something on my end that I have to touch and this. I don't know, but I mean, I can
No,
see myself fine. I'm not worried about it, and I
right,
can see uh uh
Robert.
Robert as well. Yes.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes, sir.
I can hear you. Can
Loud,
you guys
loud, loud, loud and clear.
Okay,
can you
good.
guys hear me okay?
Oh, yes.
Perfect.
Yep.
Everybody sounds
I'm not too loud, am I,
perfect.
guys? I don't
Oh,
There's
know.
no.
no echo. No, there's no echo. Everything's great.
All right. Good evening, everybody. Here we are on Recalling the Encounters again. It's been a long time, and I've got a co host by the name of the Fort Worth Phantom there, and I have a special guest by the name of Robert Righi. And Robert has had some very interesting paranormal things happen throughout his life. He has a heck of a resume, and I'm going to let Robert take it away and explain everything that he needs to tell us here.
Thank you, Ghostly. And thank you, my new phantom friend from Dallas, Fort Worth. So nice to see you guys.
Hey, pleasure to have you here, Robert.
Thank you. My name is Robert Riggi, and I was born and raised in Troy, Illinois, which isn't too far from Terre Haute, Indiana. And so, so I am from the Midwest. And um, I am a psychic medium, and I'll explain more of that in a bit. I also have a master's degree in forensic psychology and clinical social work from the University of Florida. I was a criminal profiler for 30 plus years for the state of Florida. My first job was in Orlando, way before Universal Studios was there. And then after a year, I was promoted uh, down to South Beach.
Excuse me.
And I remember meeting the director, and the director goes, Robert, I only have a, he was telling me that he only had a bachelor's degree in criminology. And he goes, Robert, I don't have the extensive education and experience that you do. He said, but here's the yellow tablet. I want you to write the protocol on what we need to do as criminal profilers. And I was dumbfounded. I thought, wow, you know what I mean? I mean, I had, here I was this new in the field, right? And I was given that honor and that privilege. And even to this day, after all these years, there's two chapters in the book that I have written that they still use. Okay. I must tell you that in 1980, I graduated from the University of Florida. And at that time, we knew of DNA, but we did not know how to test for it. We didn't know how to test at all. Testing for DNA came in its infancy in 81, 82, and 83. And even by that, it was hit and miss. I know a lot of people were convicted wrongly because the DNA was so flawed. And
No
that's why,
doubt.
to this day, that there are certain lawyers that will go around and help men and women both who have been wrongly accused and convicted and doing prison time because the DNA wasn't correct at all, you know,
Absolutely.
you know. So anyhow, so I did that for 30 plus years. During that time, I had in 1980, um, right before I graduated, I went to my department head of the University of Florida psychology department. He was a good friend of mine. He knew I was a psychic medium, but he said, Robert, you have to be very quiet about it. And so I was. And but anyhow, I said, I want us to interview or ask if we can interview Ted Bundy. Here I was in Gainesville, at the University of Florida, and he was in Bedford, which is 50 miles north of Gainesville. And so he said, go ahead, go for it. I wrote a letter to Ted Bundy. I wrote a letter to his lawyer, and I wrote a letter to the state warden. And 2 weeks later, I received I received I received a reply from them, and they all agreed. They all agreed that psychologists and myself, other psychologists and myself, could come and interview Ted, and we did. And so that's a whole nother story in itself, and we can go into that later. Okay. My first experience is when I was 4 years old. I was 4 years old and I had my first paranormal experience, and I will be 67 in November. I'll be 67 years old in November. And it's just gotten stronger and stronger over all these years. I must also go back a bit because I want people to feel very comfortable with me. Okay. Um, my spirituality is based on my Roman Catholicism. I do not try to convert anyone to any faith, be it Christian, Muslim, or Jew, or atheism, or Satanism. That's not my thing. But my spirituality is based on my Roman Catholicism, which is very important to me. Okay. Also, I must tell you that I'm Spanish and Italian. My father was born in Italy. My mom was born in Spain. I also must tell you that I'm gay. I'm very, very upfront. I'm very transparent. I want people to feel comfortable with me. And even in my own private practice that I had while I was a clinic, that people who knew who I was, they knew I was a psychic medium, they knew that I was gay, and people referred to other people to me because I am so open and so very, very transparent. But if someone isn't comfortable with me, my ego isn't so big that that I will keep those folks. Okay, they need to be referred to someone else, and that's what I've done. The most that is the most appropriate action to take. So basically, the bottom line is, I want people to feel comfortable with me. Okay, and also my my paranormal brothers and sisters watching this. I talk with my hands. God forbid if my hands were ever chopped off, because I wouldn't be able to talk. Really, that's the truth. That's a God's truth. Really, it is. Anyhow, and so I want people to feel comfortable with me. And like I said, my first experience is when I was 4 years old, and I was born in 54. So in 1958, I had my first experience. And back then, everyone, let me tell you that you had to be careful. Children, adolescents, older folks, adults had to be careful if they saw anything like that, because they could have been taken, I could have been taken away from my parents. They could have been taken to state hospitals back then. People would think that they're crazy and those types of things. Okay, and so it was kind of hush hush. It was kind of it was very, very quiet. And but anyhow, so my Italian grandmother took me to a white witch, and she only spoke Italian. When I saw this woman, oh my God, here I was 4 years old. She looked like she was 194 years old. I mean, she scared the crap out of me and everything. But anyhow, she was a sweet lady. She put her hand on my head, and I could actually feel her energy go into my go throughout my body, my little 4-year-old body, 5-year-old body. Anyhow, but she could also feel my spirit also. And she told my Italian grandmother that I'm very, very gifted and have a lot of abilities. But again, this is 1958, so we had to be very, very hush hush. Now, 20 years prior to that, 30 years prior to that, our culture were into those types of things like Ouija boards and seances and tipping tables, doing tea leaves, reading fortunes, crystals, and those types of things. And so here in our culture, it goes from one extreme to the other. Everybody's on board with it, everybody's okay with it, or everyone is against it. But in the 60s, everyone was against it. So one had to be very, very careful. So what did I do? I began to stuff it. I didn't have anyone to mentor, nobody except for this old, Italian woman. But anyhow, so I just learned to stuff it. I would see, I went to a Catholic school, but even with that, I saw spirits everywhere. I saw spirits out the window in the classroom. I would go to the local market, see spirits there. They were always bothering me. I didn't know how to turn them off. And that's one thing that later on in life, I decided that I was going to help children who are very, very gifted and talented also. Great abilities, okay? Because I want to be a mentor to them. I want to teach them, instruct them, be their advocate for them, that what they're experiencing is correct and how to turn it on and how to turn it off. And that's what I also do. So at this very moment, and now I have two more people that I am mentoring. But altogether, I have 17 individuals that I am mentoring now. Some of these children came to me 6, 7, 8 years ago, and they were hurting terribly. Their families had heard me on a podcast way back when podcasts were in their infancy. And at that time, a podcast, they could not see me, but they could hear me. It was only the audio part, but not the visual part of it. Anyhow, and so I told them that they needed help. I always get my telephone number out, and I'll do that at the end of the show also, like I do. And anyhow, these parents started to reach out to me. And so I met with these parents, and they're from all over the country. I can't tell you I can tell you their first names, but I'm not able to say their last names. I can say what state they're in, but not the city, okay? There are several in Texas. There are several in Indiana. There are four in Illinois, a couple in Kansas, one in Iowa. And so there, and just seems like it's just growing and growing, and so that's great. Anyhow, these children, when they first reached out to me, a lot of these children, which really broke my heart, that they were contemplating suicide. They had they had nowhere to go. They had nowhere to go. And if you start seeing me cry, it's just because that is so close to my heart and the other things that I do within the field. And some of these children had already begun to self-mutilate themselves. They were bullied at school. They didn't have any friends. I know how that feels. I know how that feels because I was ostracized. I was ostracized for a lot of reasons. I began to stutter terribly. I got D's and F's because I didn't know how to handle what I was experiencing. The psychic part of me, let me explain that briefly. The psychic part of me, it's just like I see this. Okay, just like with Ghost Lee. Okay, his first name starts with a G, right? Okay, so
Yeah.
I see little kids. I see little kids alphabet blocks. You know those little blocks that have the alphabet on them, A, B, C, and D, right? Anyhow, I know that Ghostly is alive. I'm speaking to him, and he's a male. Okay. So above his head, there would be like a little block, and it would have like a G, his first initial of his first name. And I know he's alive because I'm talking to him, but also that the block is standing straight up, if that makes sense. Okay. If he was passed, it would be on his side. Okay. Like this. Okay. Now, if it was a woman, it would have lace on the block. Okay. So the psychic part of me sees pieces of puzzle and I have to put them together. Now I have two angels, Angelina, who's a baby, and Raphael, the archangel that's mentioned in the Bible in the book of Tobit. He is God's medicine to love, for love. Anyhow, and there's another story of how I got these angels, which I truly believe they were with me way before I was born. And there was and anyhow, that's another whole story in itself. But anyhow, the little girl, Angelina, her name is, will tug on my socks if I don't see it. And my paranormal brothers and sisters, sometimes in life things are so obvious we can't see them, right? They can be right in front of our face and we can't see them. She will laugh at them. And that's an indication to me. She's saying, "Oh, Robert, you're so damn dumb. You're stupid. Please, get it together. It's right in front of your face." Sometimes she'll pat me on the face, stroke my face. Sometimes she'll pat me on the head. But when she laughs in my ear, that she's telling me, "Come on, Robert, get it together." Okay. And so she helps me in many, many ways. And Raphael helps me do much, 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 much more. So we can go into that, my special guardian angel. But they really assisted me and helped me on my journey. And that's why I like to come on these podcasts because there's a lot of our brothers and sisters in the paranormal field that are scared and they're frightened. They don't want to be ridiculed. They don't want to they don't want to be ostracized. you know? And so I call it the paranormal closet. I came out of the gay closet when I was 18, right? And I came into the light, right? So I'm asking my paranormal brothers and sisters who are in the paranormal closet to come out into the light and know there's a lot of people here that would support you, that understand what you're going through. And at the end of this program, I will give you my telephone number out, and please call me if any questions, any assistance that I can be. And let me tell you that I do not charge a dime for what I do. I don't. If somebody wants to send me something, that's fine. But if they can't afford it, God bless them. All I ask is to say a prayer for me and to pray for our brothers and sisters who who are still in the paranormal closet, who are still scared. So I help these children. And one of the main things that I do,
Dude.
go ahead. Go ahead. Do you have a question?
No, I was experiencing some audio problems, and I couldn't tell who it was coming from.
Okay. Okay. And
Lee, did you hear that?
Yeah, I did. He if I didn't mute me and you while he was talking, wasn't as clear. So I want to hear everything he's got to say. So I had us both muted. I apologize for that.
oh, okay.
No, no,
Okay.
no, no, no. I just wanted to make sure everything was fine. My bad.
Yeah, everything's fine.
Go ahead, sir. I'm sorry.
Please. So anyhow, so please don't call me sir, call me Robert. Okay. I'm no sir. Okay. But anyhow, so I help these children and I help.
Got you, Robert.
Thank you. Thank you. And so I help these children and adolescents and adults to embrace their God-given talents and your abilities. Don't go on the dark side, use them wisely and appropriately. These children are doing beautifully now. They really are.
Yes.
They're
Amen.
doing, and so I've taught them how to turn it on and off. And I can teach anyone to turn on and off their abilities. Some people will say, "Oh, well, I want they want their abilities on all the time." Well, that's fine, but we must believe we live in a world in this dimension. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Spirit dimension is totally different. We must find a balance. A lot of our paranormal brothers and sisters are so obsessed. They're obsessed. They're obsessed with EVPs, all sorts of things and everything, and
Absolutely.
you know, and so we have to find a balance. Let's find a balance. Anyhow, we can go more in a later podcast, Lee, to talk about our paranormal brothers and sisters that I'm teaching and assisting and stuff like that. Also, I'm gonna tell you that a family member and their family was on Dead Files, and I can't tell you their name, but they were on Dead Files, and my name was mentioned twice in Dead Files, helping one of their children who is very, very talented and gifted. Okay, so
Right.
so I do that with the children and adolescents and adults, give them hope, give them a platform, give them some place to go to. Them, okay.
Yes, sir.
And also before COVID, this is years about 6, 7, 8 years ago, that we always got together a couple times a year. A couple times a year we got together. And some of these people are very poor. Okay? Some of these people are very poor. And so that we all put our money together. And by putting our money together, that we were able to pay to those people couldn't afford the or any place. Do you hear that? Do you hear that in the background?
Yes, sir.
Do you know what
Yes.
that is?
Well, no, I was thinking it was on David's end. David, did you
It
hear
was
that?
my. Well, while ago, a few seconds ago, I dropped my phone and had to get you all back on screen if that's what y'all were talking about.
Oh, okay. Okay, just want to make sure everything's okay.
I'm good now. I apologize, sir. Robert.
No, it's fine. Don't worry about it. It's fine. Don't worry about it at all. I believe things happen
Okay.
for a reason, so it's cool. But anyhow, so what we did that we collectively put our money together so we could go to Indiana to a family who were poor. But to me, it didn't matter. They reached out to me. So we all went to Indiana. I can't tell you what area in Indiana. I could just say Indiana. Anyhow, so we went there and we spent 3 days. We reached out. Some of us stayed in hotels. Others stayed, with the family. Others, camped out and everything. But anyhow, so we do that. So we do that a couple times a year. But because of COVID, we couldn't do that. But so we could stream, we could Zoom, we could FaceTime, we could do all sorts of things, right? Now these children are doing beautifully. They are networking with each other. They have each other's cell phone numbers. They talk with each other, okay? And the parents can do the same thing. And because of COVID, everything was kind of like shut down. But at least we got to talk to each other at least once a month, a couple times a month, okay? So now that things are relaxed this past summer, it was that we could do a couple of things together, okay? So these children are doing beautifully. But at this very moment, there is a child within the paranormal field that is frightened and is scared, who is contemplating suicide at this very moment.
Mm.
And so please, we have to pray for our brothers and sisters who are scared and who are frightened, okay? But we need to be educators. We need to be educators in our field.
Yes.
And so I help those children and those children. So also what I do is that I volunteer at a hospice, and this hospice ministers to children in their home. Okay, and that's what I will be talking about tonight. We'll be talking about Lucas and Gracie and little Anna. Okay, and I will come back to these precious angels. And I do other things within the paranormal field. I do past life regression. I would regress myself. Well, when I was in South Florida, I also had my private practice. And within my private practice, I worked with this wonderful Jamaican psychiatrist, Dr. Denise, of the therapist, Dr. Denise. And she was from Jamaica, so she had that whole, Jamaican spirituality and whatever, and she was wonderful. And so she regressed me. And I knew that I had lived many past lives because I just felt like I was so as I am. But at least now I have learned the lesson of life. I don't believe in reincarnation. I don't believe that we come back in the same body, but our spirit comes back. You know what I mean? So we have to learn the lesson in life. And if we don't learn the lesson in life, we will come back after century after century after century. And mine started way back in the Roman days and of Alexander the Great. So I'm a really tired old. Anyhow, I've learned the lesson in life, and I don't have to return. Thank God for that. I just want to go someplace rest. Oh my God! And I want to eat pizza and spaghetti and meatballs. You know what I mean? I do. I'm going to go into a place.
Can't argue with that.
Yeah, I can go to a place where I can have a couple of highballs. I can have a couple of Long Island iced teas and whatever. You know what I mean? But anyhow, so I do use past life progression, and it really works well for people who are suffering such a deep depression as well as anxiety, and it works beautifully. And we can talk about that later. Also, oh no, I'm sorry. Also, there are many, many other things that I do with my resume is, you know, and so, but tonight I want to talk about these children. Many years ago, I took care of my father. I got a call, and when I was in Florida, that my father had a massive stroke. My mother died in before, and that's another story that we can talk about another time. But my father had a stroke, and it did not paralyze him, but it took his short-term memory away, which is the cruelest of all stories, right? And so anyhow, so I'm not married, and so I have two sisters and a brother, and my sisters are married, my brothers. And so anyhow, they called and said, Pop had a stroke. We need for you to come home and take care of him. I said, okay. I didn't even have to think about it. And so I said, give me a month. I just got my condo right on the beach. I had to run my private practice, take care of all that stuff and legal stuff and whatever. So I did so. I came home to take care of my father. And at first, my father really didn't have any idea who I was because he took his short-term memory away. And my father was born in Italy. In fact, he walked with 14 of his brothers and sisters and his mom and dad and his grandparents from Italy to France to get on a boat to come here to America right before World War II, And my father was a very strong man, very, very strong man. He was a caterpillar for almost 50 years of his life. They came here to America with nothing, and they lived the American dream. And also,
wow.
I must also tell everyone that I am adopted. And that's a whole other story, too, of why and what happened. And it's just a series of things that led me to where I'm at today. If it wasn't for things that were supposed to happen, I would not be here talking with you at all. Not at all. I would be dead. I bet. That's exactly dead. So I believe everything happens for a reason. Everything happens for a reason. Anyhow,
I've always believed that.
yes, and it's true.
No
And so
doubt.
I also believe that God puts us where we need to be at any given time. I believe
Yes,
in,
sir.
I call them blessed appointments of where that maybe at that moment we don't know we may not know why we're in the situation we're in, but we're in it for a specific reason. Okay. That's happened to me.
Absolutely. I totally believe that.
You
That's
can
happened.
always look. You can always look back and see why you were there sometimes too.
Right.
Later on.
Right. Oh yeah. Yes. And it's very, very true. And I believe that every experience, good, bad, the ugliest, and the best, the joyous, the happiest, there's always a lesson to be learned in any situation, in any situation. So I am not too old not to learn. And so I try to learn something every day. And also, if I may say something before we go on, because I don't want to forget this, very important. And then I'll go back to these children, that no one is an expert within the paranormal field. If something drives me to drink, or yeah, sometimes I want to drink Drano because I can't I can't stand
me and Lee were actually talking about this, how people think, they're experts when it comes to all this everything, and it's just not true.
Thank you for saying that, Robert.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yes, sir. Yeah, thank you.
It's very, very true. When I watch these,
It speaks for a lot of people, Robert.
well, thank you. And a lot of people are afraid to say it, but you know what? At my age, I don't give a rat's patoot. I'm
I don't
67
I don't either.
and I have come out of the paranormal closet. I've come out of the gay closet, never to go back in. And I speak the truth. My whole life has been one transparent journey, right? And so when I ghost shows, which I don't watch them anymore because they're a pain in my ass. Oh, excuse me. But anyhow, they're a pain. And so anyhow, when I see these stupid people, God forgive me, you know what?
Well, you can't help it. You're passionate, and there's a lot of fake ones out there. I can't watch them either.
Right. And so when they say, and underneath their name it says EVP expert. Oh my.
Really, I mean, an expert at reading recordings. I know.
Please. And that just be freaking nuts. The paranormal field is not an absolute science. It's not. You can get 20 people in a situation, they will have 20 ideas. They will have 20 different opinions. And they're right. You know what I mean? It is there. We must validate when we go into a residential setting, we must validate what the people are experiencing because it is their experience and not ours. It's not
Exactly. Exactly.
at all, you know? And so we can talk about that in another time too. Also,
Hmm.
oh my gosh, I'm just like kind of like going to different things. But when I do a seminar, and I don't have an onion with me right now, but I always show an onion. And an onion has what? It has many layers. But when we,
Layers.
yes, when we do a residential and when I do any seminars, whatever, I take an onion, I begin to peel back the onion because we, all of us, being in the paranormal field, as
Mhm.
spirit investigators and psychic mediums, empaths, intuitives, you name it, that we have to get to the core of the situation. Because if we don't get to the core of the situation, we're not helping anyone. So please,
Mhm.
my brothers and sisters in the field, please, if you're going to do a residential, make sure that you understand what the family is going through. And just because you don't get any evidence doesn't mean that they're not experiencing anything because more than not they are. Okay? Okay,
Oh,
go ahead.
quick question. When you said residential, get info, as much as possible.
Uh-huh.
Uh, um, how far back, like in history, like is it just that one family, or is it better to go back as far as possible? Whether it be they're on a sacred, ground, or do you go back even? In other words, how far back do you go that's safe to do an
Right.
investigation?
For me personally,
Hmm.
what I do is I because being a psychic medium, I tell the family what they're experiencing. So
Hmm.
they're okay. So I go in cold. I don't want to know about the history at that time. I don't because
Right.
I don't want to be skewed at all. I
Makes
go in there.
sense.
I go in there and tell them this is what I'm sensing and this is what I'm feeling. Okay. So there are 5 questions that I ask. And usually because I also come from the psychological side. Okay. So I come from the paranormal side. And usually, if someone's experiencing some paranormal activity, there's something going on in their lives. You never hardly hear of anybody just having a hunky dory life and everything's fine, right? And then but it's usually very traumatic. It's life change. It could be a death, it could be a divorce, it could be a suicide, it could be a change in job, it can be just anything, right? And that makes a perfect storm to awaken the spirits that could be in the house. It could
Yes, it seems it's from my experience from friends I've heard, they remodeled houses. They
Yes,
remodel their houses and it seems like it wakes them up and they don't like that.
yes, it does. It wakes them up. It could be, like I said, remodeling, could be a death. It's going to be something traumatic, and
Hmm.
they become the perfect storm. Okay,
Wow.
and so that's why I combine. That's what separates me from other psychic mediums. It doesn't make me any better or any worse, but it's just the fact that I come from a psychological side. So I use the psychology education experience that I have along with the paranormal, and it works beautifully. It really, really does. It works wonderfully. Anyhow, that's another story.
Wow.
Go back to the children. So I take care of my father. We call this hospice 5 days before he passed away. I was with my father 6 years before he passed. Anyhow, but my father started to remember during those years of who I was, and we traveled all over the place. But anyhow, so we called this hospice, and I knew my father wasn't going to live very much longer. And so anyhow, so they came out and they were with us for about a week in our home, which I own that our family home now, and back in Illinois. But anyhow, so they were with me. And let me tell you that hospice nurses will tell you that they have seen angels around those people who are
Yep.
dying.
Yep.
One night I was so tired. from being up 24/7, because I was my father's main caregiver, and I loved it.
Wow,
I loved
man,
every
that
moment of it.
that hits home. That hits home, brother.
It's rough. It's rough. It is. When people would come and
Well,
visit my father, I thought that was great. So people would come to visit my father, but and so then I got to rest or do whatever, do laundry or do whatever. But when they left, I felt like saying, "What about me? Why can't I go with you?" It's, I felt isolated at times, and there would be at times I told my dad, I said, "Pop, I don't know how much I can do physically, emotionally, spiritually. It's on my own, but we may have to put you in a home because I don't think I can do it anymore." Because it does. It does work on us physically, emotionally, spiritually. It does. It probably the last 2 years of my father's life took one weekend away. But But being gone on those weekends, my mind was still at home with my father. Oh my God, I hope he's eating. I hope the people are treating him well. You know what I mean?
hmm hmm
Uh, but uh, but one night I said, "Pop, I gotta go to bed." And we had made our front room because we live out in the country, as they say, by the International Airport. My father loved fish, and so we have the front room made into a bedroom, right? Big picture window. He could see the deer and everything, right? People would come by and wave and come by and talk with him. Anyhow,
Wow,
I,
wow.
I laid down and I was laying down maybe an hour, and one of my angels woke me up and said, "Go check on your father." And my paranormal brothers and sisters, listen, when your gut tells you what to do, you do it. Don't waver. You know, People will say it's a gut feeling, it's your spirit. Do it. Do it.
hmm hmm
We, we need to listen to our gut more. People that look,
it's intuition. Yes.
it is. And so I went. So I looked and I saw this smoke rise. It looked
Wow.
like smoke that rose from my father's body. And I'll
hmm
never forget it. It was like inclined, it was like going up, and it was like smoke going up, and
Like
it
yes,
twisted. It was twisted, and it was beautiful. And that was
like
an in.
was it like a misty gray color?
Yes, yes, yes,
Wow. Wow. My step grandfather passed away, and my grandmother witnessed that exact same smoke coming around her
yeah.
recliner, and
uh,
it like it didn't form into a body, but
right,
she just couldn't understand what the she knew who she didn't have no dread, nothing. She wasn't afraid. She knew it was
right.
him,
hmm
and that just blows me away because I've never heard anyone else mention the gray fog until you did.
It's like a mist, a gray fog, and it
hmm
twists around, and it's beautiful.
Yes, she said that. She said, David, this was beautiful, and I'm like, I would have been out the room,
No,
running, but to her,
no,
she knew in her heart. I think,
yeah,
I don't know if they speak or just, I think she just knew deep down it was him
right,
saying everything's going to be all right, and he was gone after that. She never saw it again.
right. And she is very correct
hmm
that there's something called terminal restlessness. I don't know if you know what that is or not. Terminal
Right.
restlessness is that the very last hours of our life, usually 12, 24 hours, that
Terminal what? I'm sorry.
restlessness, restless,
Oh, excuse me. Okay,
restless,
gotcha.
okay, of where the body is dying, right? The body is dying, part of it is dying, and the other part wants to survive. So they fight each other. You know what I mean? And so people are going to be they're going to be agitated. They're going to be doing all sorts of things because part of their body is dying and they can feel that. And the other part is saying, "Listen, we got to survive. You got to survive. You got to live." Right? It's called terminal restlessness. Also, at the very end of somebody's life, they may begin to talk, and then maybe they weren't talking beforehand. Maybe they will
hmm
say hungry, they want to eat. Maybe they've not eaten for weeks, and now they're hungry. And that's what happens sometimes during this time of terminal wrestling. So my father, after I saw this rise and everything, and I just stood there and watched it. Now I didn't have a cell phone back then because I would have taped it. I don't know if it would have been seen or not, but I would have taped it. But anyhow, so my father then fell into a deep sleep. But I knew in my heart that within 12 hours that my father would pass. And that happened early Saturday morning, and at 2:30, 3 o'clock the next day, Saturday, I was with my father. My father began to even talk more, and he was hungry. He wanted to see his sisters and brothers who were older too. I called all of them. I said, "This is the time if you want to talk to my father. This is it. This is
Wow.
the time." And so they all came, and they were all around him. And I remember my
Yes.
father, and I remember my father grabbing my hand, and he goes, "I'm scared." I said, "Pop." He called him Pop. I said, "Pop, I know you're scared,
He's
but I
scared to cross over.
yeah." And I said, "You know what?" Very Catholic, okay. And I said, "Mom is going to be here because my mom, his wife, died in '94." I said, "Mom's coming to
Mhm.
get you. And your mama, my Italian grandmother." I said, "She's going to
Mhm.
be with the Blessed Mother and Jesus, and they're going to take you home." And I said, "You need to follow the white light. Follow the light that is coming for you." So we
Mhm.
all said our prayers, and the Catholic priest was there. And my father loved that priest. And but anyhow, I so like I said, I'm adopted, and I wanted his biological children to hold his hand. You know what I mean? It was
Mhm.
important for them to do so. So I got behind my father because he is my dad, and I patted him on the head and told him I loved him, and he looked at me and
Mhm.
he said that Robert, I thank you for everything. And he goes,
Wow.
and he said, "I am so sorry for treating you some bad sometimes."
Wow.
My father and mother never hit us kids. No, never did. I could never live up to my father's expectations because I didn't like to go hunting and fishing. He was a hunter and a fisherman, you know what I mean? And so I didn't like to do that. But let me tell you, I stayed in the kitchen with my mother, and boy, I can make some mean
Hey,
spaghetti and balls and all sorts of stuff.
you know what? It sounds like to me he was making amends before he left,
Right.
and
Yeah,
that is awesome. And thank you for sharing that.
yeah. And you know that we at the end of his life we agreed to disagree on good terms, very
Yeah.
respectful, you know.
Yeah.
So so I was supposed to take care of my father. I was supposed to take care of him. So we have this time together. So I praise God for that. And
Amen.
but anyhow, my father then passed. But anyhow, I somebody asked me why I didn't cry when my father passed. And I said, "Listen, I was with your father. I was with, my cousins were asking me, why didn't you cry when your dad died?" I said, "Listen, I was with my dad for almost 7 years, 8 years." And I said, "You don't know how many silent tears, billions of silent tears that I cried down deep inside because I saw my father slowly decline." You know what I
Mhm.
mean?
Yeah.
And
Oh yeah. You got a lot of mourning out of that just alone. People
yeah,
don't understand. People don't understand unless they're in your shoes, man. I know all about that and the hospice care and all that.
very good people. So anyhow,
Hmm.
so this hospice, they called me about a month later, and I was still in Illinois at that time. And they said, "Would you volunteer? We're kind of like changing our ministry. They're getting away from adults and going to children, just mainly children." And I said, "I would love to." Well, they know who I am and they know what I do. They know I'm a psychic medium. They knew how I took care of my father and stuff, right?
Hmm.
And I said, "Yeah," because I know that I see angels and everything. And so about a month later, And there were some classes I had to take to be certified, and I did all that. And plus, I already had my master's degree in clinical social work, and also in forensic psychology. So I had all that background and resume. Anyhow, so about 2 months later or so, I got a call from them that a little boy named Lucas needs your help. I said, okay. And so they were asking me how I'm doing because my father had passed. I said, I'm doing fine. My father's in a better place, for God's sake. He is, I'm fine. So anyhow, so I got the address of Lucas and his family, and I went there. Now the parents knew who I was and what I do. They knew I was a psychic medium. They knew that I had taken care of my father. They knew that I was gay. They know that I was, a Catholic. And so anyhow, and so they knew who I was, and so I went to be with them. And I walked and I knocked on the door and all that stuff, and they gave me hugs right away, which felt wonderful. They really did. And then Lucas was in his room, and Lucas said he was sick, and he was dying of leukemia.
Oh
And
no.
and and so I knew that he was dying of leukemia. He had no hair, so I shaved my head before I went. I shaved my head to show him that I loved him, that I
Wow.
was that I was in solidarity with him. And
How
I even shaved off my eyebrows. I shaved everything.
how awesome is that?
Yeah, I respect that. I would do that too.
And so Lucas said, what took you so long? And I said, how did you know I was coming? He goes, I don't know. He goes, I don't know. I always made sure that the parents were within eye shot and earshot. You know what I mean? To protect everyone, right? And so anyhow, I looked at them and I said, "Did you say something to Lucas?" He goes, "No," because they didn't know if I was coming or not. You know, and until they were very, until I did really. And so anyhow, and so Lucas knew I was coming. And Lucas, I said, like I said, he was, and I always bring stuffed animals. I bring my guitar because I play guitar. I sing. Well, I think I can sing, but I don't know. But anyhow, uh, but but anyhow, and then I bring coloring books and such like that. I bring a book about angels and,
Mhm.
and being okay. So the psychic part of me sees things I have to put together, right? Psychically, right? The medium part of me, did the dead talk to me? Yes. Do I talk to you? Yes. Sometimes I hear them with my audible ears. Sometimes I see them with my eye visually in front of me, right? And so anyhow, and I just talked to Lucas about angels, about angels. And I said, Lucas, do you believe in angels? He goes, oh, yeah. He goes, but I don't like the angels that have wings. I don't like them to have because they
Hmm.
look. And so anyhow, so we were talking about that and everything. So, and then also he said, well, those chubby little babies that have wings too. He talked about cherubs and everything, right? The chubby little babies that have wings. Yeah, the cherubs.
Mhm.
Anyhow, he said that was kind of spooky to him. But anyhow, so he rubbed my head and he goes, you don't have any hair. I said, no. He goes, what happened to your eyebrows? I said, you know what? I just decided that I didn't need them. If you don't need them, I don't need them. So he thought that was cool. So he kissed my ball. He gave me a kiss. He kissed my ball. I thought that was so. And see how I could, Lucas, I can only be, I can only be here part of your journey. And I said, Lucas, you're going to a place where there's no more pain, no more needles, no more wheelchairs, no more doctors. Nothing like that. You're going to go into a place where it's a playground. You can play soccer, you can play baseball, you can play football, you can run, you can play frisbee, you can do anything that you want to do. Nothing is going to stop you at all. And you're going to see these children that you met at the Children's Hospital or at Shriners or at St. Jude. You're going to see these children, and you saw those children who couldn't go swimming, who couldn't play soccer like you because your bones break. Lucas's bones broke very, very easily because of leukemia, so he had to stop playing soccer. And but anyhow, I told him that I could only go part of the way this wonderful journey. And I said, this beautiful angel that you're going to be seeing very soon is going to take you, is going to take you the rest of the way on your journey. And he said, well, he goes, I'm ready to go. I, and he says, and he looked at his mom and dad came in the room and they heard. And so I said, so he said, so he said, he looked at his mom and said, you have to pack me a bag because I'm going with this angel. And so that was supposed to do. And so his mom said, well, his mom said, well, you don't need a bag because when you're going to heaven, that you don't need a bag. Everything is waiting for you. And I was with him for about an hour. He asked me to climb into bed with him, and I asked his parents. Now, everyone must remember that a lot of these children that I have been with, and I will be speaking about tonight, that their parents are not able to have any other children. The, the children that I will be speaking of tonight, their, their parents have another child. Okay, you hear the weeping and sobbing of a mother. Having horrible. I mean, it's just it. I'm
Wow.
sorry. I'm sorry. What?
I was just saying, wow,
Hmm. It. You
that's a
know.
lot.
It
It's
is.
just really mind-boggling.
It is difficult, but let me tell you that we all have a gift and talent. And somebody says, "Oh, Robert, you're strong," and I said, "No." I said, "We all have a gift and talent and ability." You know, maybe I mean, there are a lot of things I can't do in my life for God's sake. Really, I can't. I'm so stupid when it comes to computers. I am a, I am, and really tonight I'm very proud of myself because I was telling Ghost Lee that about how to use StreamYard. 3 months ago, I couldn't do that to save my
Hey,
life, you
hey,
know.
he helped me too. Thank you,
Me too.
Lee.
And but anyhow, so talking with Lucas, and so I got into bed. His parents said, "Yeah, hold him," and so I was holding him. Now the room, because of antiseptic and stuff like that, alcohol swabs, it smelled very hospital-y. You know what I mean? It had that like disinfect and smell. Anyhow, anyhow, um, and Lucas was in a diaper because he had lost he didn't have any control. He was wearing a diaper and he apologized. I said, "Oh my God." I said, "Please don't apologize." I said, "I'm good." So when I was with Lucas, I was like 64. I said, "Lucas, I'm 64 and I pee my pants." Anyhow, so what I mean? And that, anyhow, but he started to cry. And I said, "What's wrong, buddy?" He goes, "I peed on you." I said,
Mhm.
"That's okay. I pee on myself at my age. Don't worry about it. It's just a thing. It's just a thing." And but to be with him, and the air started to change, and it went from the disinfectant smell to tulips. I smelled tulips, and
Wow.
I didn't say anything to Lucas. Lucas looked at me and said, "Where's those flowers?" He yells for his mama, mama, somebody bring me flowers. And she goes, there's no flowers in here today. And I said, it smells like tulips. And it did. It was so fragrant. It was overwhelming, but it smelled so fresh, so nice, so beautiful. And all at once, my paranormal brothers and sisters, there was a flash. Now, sometimes the parents can see it and others can't. Okay. Lucas's mom and dad could see this bright light flash. The room, the air began to change. It was more like some more fragrance of flowers. It put a smile on your face to smell these, to smell flowers.
Yeah.
And and Lucas's breathing began to get very erratic. And and I said to his mom, said, this is the time for you to come to get in bed with your son. Kiss on him, love on him. I said, you tell him what you need to say at this very moment because because at the end of all of this, I don't want you to have any regrets. I should have and could have, would have. You know what I mean? And so anyhow, so they did. And I stood right behind him. I was petting him. I was touching his head, and he goes, and so he began. His mama begins to sob, and he wipes her tears and tells his mama not to cry. Oh my God! It's just
Wow.
and so, and so it's just like I'm right there right now. And again, it's so different with children than it is because children are so innocent. They have not lived they haven't lived many years, right?
Yes.
And a lot of these parents, like I said, could not have children after this one. They could not have another child. And so
Mm.
here he's mama's face. Daddy starts to cry, and his mother says, "Robert, do you know the song softly and tenderly Jesus is calling me? Do you know that guy? Guys, do you know that song? Do you know that song softly and tenderly Jesus is calling all sinners to come home? I don't know if you heard that,
Mm.
but
Don't,
it was
don't think so.
Yeah, I haven't heard it. I'm sorry.
If I heard it, I probably, but not familiar with the title.
okay. It goes softly and tenderly Jesus is calling
I've
all
heard
for all of us to come home. Anyhow, that's just the song. So I played it on my guitar, and so all at once, this beautiful angel. Oh my God. I mean, they're all beautiful. They're all beautiful.
Oh.
It just goes. He goes, Robert, come here. And here I was kind of behind him playing the guitar. He goes, stop playing. And so I did. I said, look, and he goes, and he says, it's getting warmer in here. I said, yeah. And I said, very soon, this beautiful angel that you see coming towards you. Now, the parents could not see the angel, but they did see the flash, the bright light, right? And so Lewis goes, this angel doesn't have wings. I said, that's correct. But he said, look at the gold on him. He said, oh, he's just covered with gold. I remember Lucas saying that over and over. He's covered with gold. So beautiful.
Wow.
And so then, and I said, Lucas, I said, very soon, this angel is going to take you by your hand. I said, your parents have your other hand, right? He goes, yeah. And his
Yeah.
parents knew what I was going to say next. And I said, this angel's going to take you to paradise and you're going to have so much fun, really, you know, and your parents will love you. You will always be their little Lukey, as they call him. Lukey's the nickname. And I said, your parents will never forget you. They will always love you. And so his breathing became more erratic as the angel got closer. And the angel then, I saw this, that the angel picked Lucas up. His body was still with his parents, right? But the angel picked him up and then ascended into paradise. Oh my God. It was just like I'm just there this very moment. You know what I mean? It
Oh
is,
my.
you know. And of course, but then to hear the sobbing, sobbing parents.
Wow. I
And,
couldn't even imagine.
and so then I asked the parents if they wanted me to leave. They said no. So I'm also there for the parents, you know. And I said, you know, that I'll be here as long as you need me. You know, and again, I do this as a volunteer. I don't ask for anything. The parents try to give me something. I say, oh, no, 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 please, no, no. But anyhow, so I said that we can't do anything right now because. So I call the hospice nurse. The hospice nurse is the one who signs the who signs the death certificate. Okay, so if the nurse is going to be 2 hours late, it's not when Lucas died down. It's when she gets there. Okay. Everyone who is in hospice, they do not have to go in for an autopsy either. They, that is, that's way past.
I've
So
heard that
anyhow,
as well.
yeah. And anyhow, so the nurse came 2 hours later, and so let's put down when she, that, she arrived. And prior to that, I said, this is what to his parents. I said, there are some things that you could do. The last thing that you can do for your son is to bathe him right now. We being Judeo-Christians, we come from it. All of us come from our Jewish brothers and sisters thousands of years ago, right? And so anyhow, so many, many years ago, it was commonplace that the family bathed their adult person who died or the child, right? We bathed them. And so, and I said, that you're able to do that if you want to. So the father ran a warm bath, and he came back and he picked Lucas up, and they removed all the diaper and that he was wearing, pajamas, and they take him to the bathtub and they bathe him for the very last time, you know, and that was difficult. I mean, the whole situation, the whole scenario, when the minute I walked through the door until I left out later, it is difficult. It is very, very difficult. But anyhow, they basically just they're glad they really they thanked me for doing so. And so they brought him back into the bedroom and put him up in his house. And and then the mortuary director came, and I always meet the mortuary director at the door, and I said, listen, I said, you can bring I don't like to call it a body bag, but that's what it is, right? But anyhow, I said, you can bring the enclosure in, and the parents will help you put their child into this enclosure, but do not zip it up. Don't zip it up in front of them. That is the most horrendous thing that a parent can see, experience, right? You don't want that to be the last thing in your mind. Know? You don't want it to be the last thing that you remember,
Agree.
son.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Hmm.
And so then, anyhow, so, and most times, the mortuary director, whoever, you know, agrees. So they, they put Lucas into the body enclosure. I call it body enclosure. And they carry Lucas out. They don't put him on a gurney. The father and mother carry their son out to the vehicle, and so they're hugging on him again. They're kissing him. They're sobbing. They're crying, and then they put him into the vehicle. And the mortuary person doesn't zip that up, not at all, not until they're fine, until they are back in the house. Right? So
What
they
an
spend.
what an awesome thing that you told them. Most people wouldn't even pay attention to that, Robert. That's an awesome thing.
Mm-hmm. And,
Excuse me, fellas.
and so, just like you said, that a lot of people don't think of it. But anyhow, so then the parent then the parent kissed Lucas one more time, and then they walked towards the house. And then all at once, Lucas's mother falls to the ground, sobbing, crying uncontrollably. Her husband tries to console her, but how can you console someone who you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So he goes on the ground with her, holding her, and they're both crying. And they look up at where I'm at, and I know this is Father, and I cry too, you know. Anyhow, so they go into the house, and that's when I tell the mortuary person now they can zip up the enclosure, and so they do. And then I go into the house, and I stay with the family as long as they need me, you know. And
Wow.
so and I said, and I remember his mother. He said, "I am so mad." I said, "That's fine. You can be mad." She goes, "I'm so damn mad at God." I said, "Tell God how mad you are. God understands. God understands how frail we are. He understands the pain that you're going through." Right. If you're, my brothers and sisters in the paranormal field who are listening to this, if you're angry, God, tell him that you're angry. There's nothing wrong with that. You're not going to be condemned. Not at all. Okay. And I said, if you want to break something, break something, you know?
And I held on to that problem for years.
You know, me and my mom, we struggle with that too, being mad at God because he took my aunt from us, and we've had trouble getting over that. And it's selfish of us to feel that way because she's in paradise and here we are struggling around at this dirty little bus stop,
Right. And it's
And
true.
love conquers all, and people that have it all doesn't necessarily mean they're happy.
Amen.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I had to deal with that too. It was tough.
Yes, it is. And grieving is a process. And that's why I told these parents, grieving is a process. Some people
Ooh.
grieve,
For a long time.
others grieve for a long time. But I tell them that when we grieve for a long time, in my experience, is that we keep their loved ones earthbound because of our grief. That the loved ones are afraid to cross
Wow.
over.
I need to write that down. That was powerful.
The loved ones are afraid to cross over, and they can't cross over because the grieving, the emotion of the
Guilt.
grief. Yes. And so I tell people, I said, yes, just because just because you're letting go doesn't mean that you're going to forget them. They're not synonymous with each other. You know what I mean? So a lot of spirits are earthbound because of the grieving turns into mourning. And
See, it almost makes me wonder if it's like the movie Ghost. Yeah, you know how Patrick had that small window of opportunity to go into the light, and then he turned his back, and it was gone. And I've always wondered that if I know it's just a movie, but it always makes me wonder, if you turn your back on that opportunity, are you stuck here on Earth?
Right, and you're stuck here, and I believe because of other people's grieving that the spirits are not in paradise. They're kind of like limbo. Catholics said years ago. They're kind of like in limbo. They're like half here and half in heaven. You know what I mean? But we need to let go. By letting go does not mean that we forget them. No, it's one of the last acts of love that we can do for our loved one who has died, to allow them to go towards their life, allow them to go on. And
even be vocal about it, right?
Yes. Oh, yeah, very much so. Yes. And I always say, and And for my tombstone, if I have one, I don't know. I'm going to have put on it, I have now begun the greatest journey of my life. And it is.
Amen. Amen.
My God, I can't wait. But anyhow, so I'm there with Lucas's family, and I'm there for a couple of hours, and so and the father goes, I don't want to be rude, but how about going out for a beer? I said, that's fine. I said, if you guys want to go out for a cocktail for a beer, I'll go with you. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong. He goes, well, I know that people will say, well, they should be this, doing that. And I said, listen, you mourn the way and you grieve the way you want to grieve. Don't give a rat's ass of what other people think. Don't, you know, you do what you guys want to do. I'll go out for a cocktail with you. There's nothing wrong with that. Don't feel badly. If you run into someone, just say that you're here for a cocktail. It's up to you if you want to say that Lucas is passed. Some people would, if some people would say that would be great. If you go into a bar and see a mom and dad having a cocktail right after your son's daughter dies, right? But you guys, just some a-holes, right? Would say, what the hell are you doing here? You just lost your son or your daughter and you're having a cocktail. And so they don't understand that. Anyhow,
Right.
but anyhow, we did go and we went out and we had a couple of drinks and then we had dinner and they needed that relaxation. They needed that space. They needed to get out of the house where the doom and the gloom, where the sadness, but also joy, right? They had not been out for a dinner, for a couple of cocktails,
Man.
and for a dinner for a year, 2 years. So they needed that.
You have to, whether it's, like a beer or what you said, to get out of the house,
Right.
separate yourself from that depression because those walls can kill you.
Oh, amen.
Not
And
only
also,
the walls, the thoughts,
right. Oh, yeah, very much. And also, what I told families also is, don't make your son or daughter's room into a memorial. Don't don't make it into a memorial. When you're
Interesting.
ready, when you are ready, you give the clothes, you give them to Goodwill, you give them away. But what I suggest also is you save some T-shirts and you make pillows out of them and you give them to your loved one in remembrance of your son or your daughter. Okay?
I like that.
Because
Awesome.
It
because
makes a
I
lot of
have been,
sense.
yeah. And don't wash them first because you want the scent of that child, right?
Nope.
You want the scent of the
No,
child on it.
well, that's the thing. My wife just lost her mother in March, and she has yet to wash because she wants that scent, and she can even sleep
Right.
with that sweater. She has all these sweaters
Yeah.
with perfume, and it just comforts
Mhm.
her it makes her feel like she's there, and she wouldn't wash it in a million years.
And there's nothing wrong with that. Not at all.
Hmm.
Not at
No,
all.
yeah, not at
And
all.
so I tell the families, don't make their room into a memorial because that is, first of all, you are holding on to something that you need to come to a closure with. It's not saying
Hmm.
that you're going to forget Lucas, your
Right.
father, this is wrong. But it's just the fact that we are here on earth and our life continues. You don't want to live in this mourning or grieving for the next 60 years of your
No.
life, and you're going to be out on everything. And Lucas couldn't
I
want
would
that.
rather have them, I'd rather have them have the precious memories, whether it be, an old recipe like my grandma had, or, photo
Right.
albums, or, I could keep going. Um,
Right.
very, very
So,
important because I've been in the business where people will just throw it away, and I'm like, man, how can y'all just do that? I couldn't. Um, um, you know, it's. I'm glad I kept my great grandmothers and great grandfathers a lot of their stuff, photo albums, everything, because it had helped me through a lot, and depression, or even if I get sad, yeah, I still get sad and cry looking at the pictures, but better than nothing and
right.
throwing it away. And then, because our memories
And
aren't the best, and we may forget about everything when we get older, but at least we have those pictures or clothes or that scent that, or even music, can bring back wonderful memories of a lost one.
Yeah, very much so. And
Mhm.
so hold on, I got to move for a second. Oh, anyhow, anyhow, that I was with Lucas's parents for about 5 hours after Lucas passed. And so I said, and so I gave him my telephone number and I said, anytime you want to call, day or night, whatever, I'm here and available. And I do that to all parents and everything, right? And anyhow, now it's been 5 years. It's been 5 years, and this couple is doing beautifully. They are. Sometimes the family wants me to talk at the church service, and I have no question about doing that, and I do that for them. I do talk about the angels and those types of things. And but I know that our time is getting up. But I just want to say that the other somebody, someone saying something.
What?
Yeah, I think he's talking to somebody, Robert.
Okay, okay,
I've got him.
but
I've got him muted for a second, but you can talk.
okay. But anyhow, with the other children and I mean, I could go on, but with them, one of the children, little Anna, that her angels who came, it was angels who came to get her, and they were little angels. They were some of the children that were at Children's Hospital with her that passed away before she did. They came to take her home. They
Wow.
came they came and took her to this wonderful, wonderful playground, you know. And each story is different in many ways, and yet they're the same, if that makes sense, you
That
know,
makes total sense. That
you
makes
know.
sense.
And so with grieving, it is a process. I know that I talked about these children on other podcasts years ago, and I know my friend Michelle in Ohio. She called me, and she took care of her son for 11 years. And here he was, the University of Ohio uh, grad student. He was, he was in the limelight. Everybody wanted to be around him. Whatever. And his name is Ryan. Anyhow, and I helped her through the grieving process because her grieving got so horrible that it affected her marriage. Her husband never left her. Her husband never left her, but a lot of men would have. You know what I mean? But
Yes.
anyhow, but that's another story in itself. And Ryan is an angel among us, and that's another story that I can get into another time. But my journey, doing so many things within the paranormal field, that God has gotten me ready to be way before I was born. You know,
Yes, sir.
the and the things that our paranormal brothers and sisters have to realize is that we must embrace our gifts and talent, embrace the intuitive, embrace your gut feeling, embrace it, go by it. You know, if something tells you, if somebody, if something says to you in your back of your head, don't do it, don't do it then. You know what I mean? Listen,
Absolutely.
listen to your gut. See, that's what's wrong with America and the world now. People aren't listening to their spirit. They're listening to the TV. They're listening to all this crap, right? We
Yes, sir.
need, we need, we need to get, we need to get back to who we are,
Can
because so many people have lost their way because There's something called psychic vampires out there. They'll just drain you dry. You know what I mean? You
I,
walk by.
absolutely. I must work with a bunch of them because after I get done, I'm just totally exhausted.
Right. And you can tell them, I don't go into Walmart. I mean, God bless people who go there working, but I can't go to Walmart because they just drain me dry. They really, really do. I mean, oh my God, it's horrible. But
Oh,
anyhow, what I do within the paranormal field, it's very important for me. It's important for me to do these podcasts. It really, really is because I want to give hope to our brothers and sisters in need. I really do.
can,
It's very, very important to me. It
can,
is.
can I ask you a question, Robert?
Yeah,
Uh,
go ahead, sir. Yeah.
do the children that are like the younger children now that are born, I mean, can you like see their auras and stuff like that? Are you seeing anything special about about kids now, or like are their abilities, are they are a lot more of them born with these abilities,
The
or more?
children that I have been around, there some of them I would call indigo children. Indigo, have you heard of that term?
Yes,
Indigo
sir, I have.
children?
Yes.
Okay. And they're very gifted. They have a lot of abilities. They really, really do. You know, and when I walk by a child and the child looks at me and smiles, and you just know that they are very, very special. I believe all children are special if they have abilities or not. God bless them. You know what I mean? You know,
Absolutely.
uh,
Absolutely.
some children are indigo children, or some people will call them star children. You know, and you can just tell. You can tell by their aura. You can tell them by their smile. You can tell by the twinkling of their eye. You know what I mean? And so I see those children quite often. And sometimes my spirit urges me, parents, and I do. I'll say, "Excuse me, you made me think I'm crazy, but your child is very gifted and talented." And more times than not, they will say thank you, and then I'll say, "God bless you. Have a good day." I don't go into any detail. You know what I mean? I don't.
Yeah. You probably couldn't explain it in a way that they would understand it.
Oh,
Most
no,
most people.
not in 2 minutes. You know what I mean? Not in 2 minutes at all.
Yes.
But I enjoy. I was made to serve. My motto is that we are spiritual beings in a physical body, and we are. That's one of my mottos. Another motto is that we are all called to serve our brothers and sisters in need. It doesn't have to be monumental. It doesn't have to be giving thousands of dollars away. It could be a smile. A smile can change someone's day. Opening a door for someone can change someone's life. You know. And
Absolutely.
for me personally, I got to meet Mother Teresa 3 times in my life. 3 times I met Mother Teresa, and so I do a lot of volunteer work all over the country. You know, I do, and so that's very special to my heart. And,
Wow.
but anyhow, like right now, I want to give my telephone number out. Is that okay?
Absolutely. Whatever you want to do,
Mhm.
Robert. This is floor here.
Thank you. 309 213 0325. 309 213 0325. If anyone needs assistance, if anyone needs my help, if they have any questions, my phone is open 20, my phone's on all the time.
More
And
time.
if I don't answer, the 309 is the area code in Illinois, but I travel all over the United States.
Okay.
And,
Three,
and, you know, and so please, so give me a call or text message me and
you
I
said
will get,
309 313 0325.
no, 309 213
Sorry about that.
0325.
Gotcha.
309 213 0325. And I have a couple of shout outs that I need to do. One of them is called to Mike Cardenas, He is from San Antonio, Texas. He's a Texan boy. Okay, he has a wonderful group.
Texas.
Yes, he has a great group called Midnight Paranormal Society. Also, he has this new group that I am part of. They're called Paranormal 101 Education. And
Let's plug. Let's get
yeah,
it.
so please send Mike a friend request. Like his
Par,
page of
par,
MPS
Paranormal
Paranormal,
101.
Paranormal 101 Education. And then you can scroll down and you can so you can see my picture, and then you can like or whatever you want to leave a message or something. But anyhow, so please,
Awesome.
so please do that.
Is it okay if I send you to some of my groups as well?
Oh, please do. Yes, very much so.
Okay.
Yes, please do. Yes.
I mean, some are Sasquatch, some are cryptids, but I mean, it's basically all of it. Paranormal falls into it as well.
And that's fine, because I believe anything is in the realm of possibility. I do.
Yeah, yeah,
I
because I
believe
mean,
in
there are no experts,
right.
and
And
that's what
right,
that's what we're here to do is find
right,
talk and with good people and try to come up with any kind of answers.
right. And so I believe, because in Florida we call Sasquatch, Bigfoot, we call them skunk ape.
Skunk ape,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
I've
So
heard I've even heard of some Gugwe encounters in Florida.
have what?
Gug the Gugwe. It's
I never
it's
heard of
a
that.
Oh man, it's one of the most,
it's an
if it's
aggressive.
true, yeah, it's one of the most aggressive ones. It's also called also known as the face eater.
I never heard of that before.
I think they were cannibalistic at one point. Native American. I'm not sure, but
I see.
yeah, definitely skunk ape though in your neck of the woods.
Very much so. And because I was, since January 1st until the third week in May or so, I was volunteering um, on the Navajo Indian Reservation in New Mexico, and I was
Hmm.
volunteering in the homeless shelter and soup kitchen. I got to know wonderful Navajo and Hopi shamans, and they taught me. And so I'm going to go back. So right now I'm in Pacific, California, and I'm going to go back to New Mexico on Saturday. But but these shamans have taught me, and I love being around the campfire with them, and we go horse riding to the Monte Cristo mountain range, which is the largest mountain range in the world. And but just being in the mountains with these guys, I've been into a sweat lodge. I smoked peyote with them, and the things things that I experienced,
Hey,
and
hey,
and also I was in Window Rock, Arizona. Window Rock is the seat of the Navajo and Hopi Nation, and it's a huge boulder that has a natural hole in the middle. And I have my picture taken in front of it, so I will send it to you guys. And
wow.
anyhow, but just being in a sweat lodge. But these shamans around the campfire told me of the ancient traditions, and that was so interesting to me. I learned about skinwalkers. Wow, that is dog man and all that type of thing and Bigfoot. Oh my God.
Yeah, me and Lee were talking about the other day. There's certain cryptids Native Americans will not even utter the word, and one of them is a skinwalker.
Hmm. And because because they'll say when I was there, they would say,
They're afraid.
Robert.
I guess they're afraid it's going to curse or something, but they won't even talk about it.
Well, I mean, the shamans talked to me about it, and some of the guys did too, because I would go for walks with the guys that were in this homeless shelter, right?
Hmm.
And uh, they said, Robert, you see that guy over there? I said, watch him carefully because he will turn into a dog, or he'll turn into
Wow,
a dog.
wow.
I said, just
Well, I believe they can turn in. I think a skinwalker can turn into basically human,
right.
a Sasquatch, rake. You never know. I mean, we don't know these things.
No, but just to be with these shamans and hear these wonderful stories, no, it's just really incredible. So right now I'm in Pacifica, and I was going to tell everyone that I am privileged enough to be asked to go into the Winchester Mansion.
Wow.
I don't know if you know of the Winchester Mansion
Yes.
at all.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm doing that Thursday night
Is
with my
that is that the giant 3-story house Victorian style and it's abandoned?
right. Well, it is about Sarah Winchester. Her husband,
Yeah.
okay, her husband is the one who did built the gun and all that stuff, right? Well,
Mhm.
most people think that she built a house and the way it looks today to confuse spirits. That is a lie.
Wow.
It's not.
Wow.
At one, there are some doors that lead to nowhere, right? They open up and there's just nothing there, right?
Right.
Part of the problem is that during that
It's
time in the 1800s, early 1900s, there was a horrible earthquake in that area, right?
Yes.
And part of the house fell. So she did not build that, but she left the door. She left the door there, right? So it doesn't mean it's a spiritual law. I mean, it doesn't mean that she's spirit. It's not true at all. In fact, that she lived in the house for just a brief period of time, and she moved into another home. She did. Okay.
hmm.
Also, that during her time, during the Victorian age, let's say, that they believed in seances and they believed in tipping tables and tea leaves and all that stuff, right? Anyhow, so she was into that also. But you can go and you can Google, and I've read it many times. I've heard this from people being in California. I'm only 45 minutes away from Winchester. I've been by it. That people will tell you that the things that you saw in Ghost Adventures and all that crap that you heard back when I don't like them anyhow. But anyhow, um, that all those were just lies. And there are 10 main lies about the house. And if you want to know the truth, then go and Google and read them. Okay? They're called the
Yeah.
10
I
lies.
never I never was a fan of Zach. I heard that he even sent his own investigators in there and then but I don't know, it's all reality TV. It's hard to
Right.
say.
It is. It is. But my brothers and sisters who are listening to this, always remember that we are spiritual beings in a physical body. And we're here on
Mhm.
a, okay? And we need to love ourselves so we can love someone else. I know that
Absolutely.
I know that so many people who are listening to this are going to be listening. They have been betrayed.
There's
They've been
yeah,
betrayed. They've been stabbed in the back and they've been hurt. They have been caregivers to a
I'm one
fault.
of them.
Okay. And so it's time for all of us, including me many years ago, to get off the back burner, that we need to take care of ourselves. We have to think of us, not in our
You're
veins,
absolutely you're absolutely right.
but we need to take care of ourselves. We need to clean up the baggage, the dirty baggage that surrounds us, the things that we have stuffed inside of us, the things that have happened to us as a child that we stuffed and stuffed and stuffed. Because if we don't, if we don't come to some closure with the ugliness that has happened to us in our younger years, it's going to follow us until the day that we die. Okay. And also, my brothers and sisters, for years, I had an eating disorder. I went from 300 pounds down to being anorexic. Okay. What I had to learn from eating was that because Americans eat at anything, we eat at funerals, we eat at lunch, we eat at everything. When we're happy, we're sad. But there's a thing which is very true. It's that we need to eat to live. We don't live to eat. Okay. Also,
Okay.
there's another thing. It's not what you're eating, it's what is eating
Is
you.
eating you. Yep.
Yeah, yes. Food was my comfort. Oh my God, food was my comfort. But let me tell you,
Guilty.
5 minutes, 5 minutes afterwards, it kicked your ass. The guilt kicked your
Guilty, man.
ass. So I know
It
that
is
it's
so
not.
it is so hard. I'm not perfect by any means.
Well, who am I? And so
Mm.
what all falls short. But again, my psychic brothers and sisters, those who are empaths, those who are intuitives, because we all have gifts and talents and abilities. Embrace them. Embrace them like a child. Love your gifts and your talents and abilities and use them wisely. Use them correctly. Use them the
Amen.
way that our creator wants you to use them. Okay. Never go on the dark side. I know a lot of my sisters in the field are into the weekly shows. I'm
Okay.
not. I don't like the weekly shows, and we can go into that at a later date too. But my brothers and sisters, we have to love each other. We have to, especially love ourselves first, so we can love each other. Okay,
That's the hardest thing is love thy neighbor, especially when
they're
uh
prick.
they attacked me. You know, they attacked me. They hated me. They beat up my mom, and it's like I struggled for so long. Love thy neighbor, and I'm like, how? You know, but it took me a few years. It took me a few years to forgive them because
Right,
they were sick as well. They were on drugs, and
right,
I know that they couldn't help it. It was just
right,
they were just getting at me because they were seeing I was getting upset, and that's what they get a kick out of.
right. And also, and also that we must realize that Jesus in the Gospels didn't say we had to like people. He never uses the word like. He said to love them, which is totally different. Totally different. Love
Yeah,
is totally
basically kill him with kindness, and then you can move about your merry way, right?
it's very true. Jesus didn't say like your neighbor as yourself. No, he said to love
Oh
them, which
yeah,
is totally different.
yeah, right. I'm not over there watching football with him on Sundays, but I could still say, hey, how you doing? You know, God bless you, stuff like that. Yeah,
And
I
to be
get what
quite,
you're saying. I get what you're saying.
yes. But again, I want to thank you so very, very much. And if anyone has any questions, please, reach out to me. You have my telephone number. Um,
Got it. Yep.
and, and also that next time we can talk about my interview with Ted Bundy. We can talk about the children of the paranormal if you want to. We can talk about past life regression. There are a lot of
Heck
things to
yeah.
talk about. So I'm available anytime you guys want me to come back
Talk
on.
talk about one of your most haunted houses.
Oh,
I like stuff like that.
okay. Okay, so
Hey,
that's
as long as dolls are out of it, then
oh,
no,
I
I
hate
don't do dolls, man.
I don't either. And I'm gay, and being
I mean,
being a gay person, do you think that I would love dolls? I
well,
hate them with a passion. I do.
I
I hate
guess,
them.
well, I guess because my brother had me watch all the '80s doll movies and the the
Like
horror movies. Oh,
Buffy.
and man, and my great grandmother had a collection, right? And
Hmm.
I swear, you know how they have those dolls where you walk past them and then no matter what, it looks like their
Looking
eyes
at
are following you. Yeah, yes, and to this day, mm-mm. Like I would rather. I used to have a clown phobia, but the dolls take the cake.
Oh yeah, yeah. The only doll I like is Robert the doll that I met in Key West, Florida. He's very famous, and if he doesn't like you, you get repercussions from him. And he's in a museum. He's called Robert the doll. So
He wears
please,
a little sailor suit, doesn't he?
yeah, he does. So
Oh, is that the haunted one? Like
yeah,
the Annabelle doll?
yeah, yeah,
I know that's a different one, but
yeah.
yeah,
So
I saw a video on that. I don't know if it was staged, but it showed him move like in the chair or
right,
something, and
he
pretty
does, and
creepy.
he does, and he is in a museum in Key West. And when I lived in Florida, I went to see him once a month. And he liked me because my name is Robert. And so we have this thing. And this is going to sound strange, but I do write to him once a month. I do. I write to the museum to Robert to just say, hi, how you doing? Whatever.
Hmm.
Every, but there's another thing that we can talk about the two exorcisms. So if you want to hear something off the chain that I experienced in my bio, that Lee read about me being involved in two exorcisms sanctioned by the Archcatholic Archdiocese of Chicago, and I was involved in those. And let me tell you, if you want to hear something creepy and off the chain, it is that I can talk about. Kevin was one of them, and Vivian was the other. Totally different.
We'll be looking forward to that, Robert.
That's fine. Anyhow, our time is almost up, and
Yes, sir.
I'm going to walk to the beach now. So after this show, I'm going to walk to the beach, and because it's only 2 minutes from where I live. I'm not
Robert,
staying
I,
now.
Beautiful.
I've got to say this, Robert, before you go. My mom's watching, and if I don't say this, she'll be mad at me. But you're just a blessing to.
Oh,
Thank you for your service to humanity.
Yes, thank you, and God bless you.
Yeah.
well, thank you, and tell your mama that I'm praying for her too. Okay,
Yes,
and
sir.
and I am not greater or less than anyone else. I am who I am. That's all.
Me too, brother. We're
You're
working on it.
you're a shining beacon of hope and light in this world, Robert, and that's what we need in this darkest hour.
Yes, well said, Lee.
Thank you, Robert.
Thank you, and God bless everyone.
God bless you.
And love you, folks.
Nice to meet you, Robert.
Nice to meet
Hope
you.
to,
Love you too,
hope
Robert.
to see you again, man.
Yes, you will very soon. See
Yes,
you
sir.
later.
God bless, Robert.
Yes, bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Bye.
Bye-bye.
That was cool. Lee. How'd I do?
You did good, Robert.